Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. It's an honour to have the opportunity to contribute to this Stage 3 budget debate. And I would like to begin by highlighting one single budget line I am delighted to see contained. And that's the £180 million towards the attainment challenge and £120 million to go direct towards head teachers. I'm sure the whole chamber will join me in congratulating the outstanding work of teachers, staff, pupils and parents in Renfrewshire and Renfrewshire Council officials as well on their achievement this week. Significant year-on-year improvements in listening, talking, reading, writing and numeracy, with the attainment gap closing across all measures. And Renfrewshire, an area where we have some incredibly challenging circumstances for some of our young people. This is an achievement I think we should be incredibly proud of teachers and pupils and staff in Renfrewshire, and I hope the Parliament will show its appreciation. I think what has characterised much of this debate has been a great deal of heat, but not a great deal of light. And it's been remarked by many that we are marking the 20th anniversary of devolution, in which the promise was of a new kind of politics, a new kind of a parliament where the architects of our electoral system envisaged that all parties would have to work together and to collaborate, and no more, this would be no more necessary, no more other area in setting a budget for the Parliament. But unfortunately, a lot of the debate doesn't seem to, I think, bear much standing when confronted with reality. Now, whereas in the previous contribution, Dean Lockhart spoke about the different rates of growth between Scotland and the rest of the UK, and he quoted SFC figures, and he's perfectly entitled to do so. But I think we need to drill down a bit further. For example, if we look at the GDP per person differential between Scotland and the rest of the UK, it narrows. But if we look at the per capita working age GDP between Scotland and the rest of the UK, the difference in the forecast of the SFC disappears completely. Now, why would this be the case? Well, it's a demographic issue. We have an older population, and so we face a significant challenge in growing our population so that we can fund our public services. And this is something that is going to be made incredibly difficult by Brexit. And yes, there are challenges for the Scottish Government, there are challenges for us in this Parliament in continuing to make Scotland an attractive place. But when we have a Prime Minister whose Home Secretary was architect of the hostile environment, a Prime Minister whose former Cabinet colleague stated in national television last night that she believes the Prime Minister to have an immigration problem, then that is deeply concerning. And indeed, as Angela Constant mentioned, mitigation may be able to stop us taking a step back, but we will never be able to take a step forward when powers over immigration are held in London and are exercised by someone with the views and values of the Prime Minister. Another key area with regards to growing our economy, of course, is productivity. And it is a challenge that has received much commentary, both within this Parliament and by many thinkers out with. If I may, with your permission, Presiding Officer, I wish to quote from a recent article in the Respected Society Now, the Economic and Social Research Council's journal. And it's from Professor Philip McCann, who is a Professor of Urban and Regional Economics at the University of Sheffield. And he made some interesting remarks regarding productivity in the UK. He stated that the first and most striking difference between this is how his remarks were reported, the first and most striking difference between the UK and other nations, says McCann, is a massive variation in economic productivity between its regions and nations. These different levels of productivity, in turn, drive levels of affluence and influence social conditions and are regarded as a key determinant of economic success. McCann's message is that amongst the industrial economies, the UK has some of the world's biggest inter-regional differences in productivity. He has examples to make the point. On some measures, the UK has bigger productivity variations than the whole of the Eurozone. It has regions that are less productive than many parts of the Czech Republic, Slovakia, the Baltic states and the former East Germany. And almost half of the UK population today lives in areas that are poorer than West Virginia or Mississippi in the US, where British TV companies go to make documentaries about poverty. To suggest that somehow the challenge in productivity is exclusively an issue for Scotland and exclusively an issue for the Scottish Government is not something that stacks up. And I think we have to be a bit more mature in how we discuss productivity and a range of other measures. And I think there's much else that he adds, but I think something that is very worthwhile bearing in mind is when he articulates regarding these variations within the UK, he states, the higher productivity areas, he says, include London and a wide swathe of the South East, the East and parts of the South West of England, as well as Scotland. And he then goes on in this article to go and praise the work of the Scottish Parliament and how it's enabled a more data-driven approach. And he highlights how actually smaller territorial units of around about 4.5 million are able to address issues of productivity far more effectively. So I think these are some of the things we have to take on board. We can come into the chamber, and I'm guilty of it as the next person, and we can engage in cheap politics and exchange blows and get progressively more irascible as a debate progresses. But that's ultimately not going to make a difference for the people we are sent here to represent. What does make a difference for the people we are sent here to represent is the money in the Attainment Challenge. The money is going to go into schools in my constituency. The money that's enabling head teachers like Jackie McBurney in St Anthony's in Johnston to go and deliver such outstanding results that it becomes the first Scottish school to receive the UK Literacy Skill Award. So I hope that in next year's budget and that the conversations about next year's budgets can start imminently, but we can take a more mature and constructive approach.
You must conclude.
And live up to the aspirations that the architects of devolution have
Thank
for
you.
this place.
I call Polly McNeill, followed by Keith Brown.